What is up, everyone? Jay here with another Fire Emblem Heroes video, and today I'm going to be going over the Archanea Hall of Forms that is ongoing right now, and just talking about my opinions on this lineup and every character, and going over some skills you might want to go for on this Hall of Forms, because in my opinion, all four of these characters provide some value and are worthwhile pickups for your Form of Soul. So yeah, as you guys know, I'm an Archanea fan, a huge Archanea fan, so I love whenever Archanea Hall of Forms comes out. And last year we also had a pretty good lineup with the young children, with young Marth, young Sita, Merrick, and then we had Chris as well. And this year is also pretty amazing with legendary Marth and Sita, and we also have two Marias, which is pretty funny. I didn't expect two Marias, and I also didn't expect Sita, because Sita is she's a relatively recent legendary hero. She just released in 2022, but I guess they couldn't leave Marth without his wife, which is pretty cute. But yeah, I didn't expect Sita. I didn't think they'd actually do it, because there are other options for this Archanea Hall of Forms. If I would have chosen it, I wouldn't have put two Marias, because that's something that's never happened in Hall of Forms. We never had two of the same character. I would have put maybe Halloween Zane. I know some people wanted him, or Nagi. Nagi would have been a solid option, but I'm not complaining. I think the two Marias are also pretty good. They provide value. They're pretty great in their own ways. So yeah, pretty funny lineup, but it's awesome. Legendary Marth was a given because he's not on any kind of remix, and they're not getting their remix to refine. I mean, Marth already got his remix. Sita's still waiting on hers, but yeah, this lineup is pretty awesome, and I know a lot of people are going to be using at least one of their Form of Souls on it. So I'm going to be going over these characters and this Hall of Forms lineup. So starting off with my boy Legendary Marth. So he is one of the oldest legendary heroes, and because he's so old, he still requires Ardo Infantry 4 to work in Arena, to his max capabilities in terms of scoring, unfortunately. But despite being one of the older legendary heroes, he's still aged better than some others, in my opinion, and that's because of Exalted Falchion and this weapon giving him a ton of stats and letting him snowball in the right circumstances. So he has Spectrum Immunity, Bonus Doubler 3, and of course Dragon Effectiveness. So this weapon, when it was refined, it was cracked. Even before the refine, when he released first time in 2018, he was cracked. So Legendary Marth has always been a pretty top tier sword infantry. I mean, maybe not always been, because right now he's not top tier. I'd say he's like maybe on the lower end spectrum of like a high tier sword infantry, because obviously power creep, and there's just other sword infantries that do more than him and have other effects. But still, despite that, again, he can be a really good just stat ball, and he's aged better than some other legendary heroes because of this weapon refine, which I'm really thankful for as someone who uses Marth Emblem and has him at +10, of course. So yeah, even though he's not as dominant as he once was, he's still a worthwhile pickup, because he can be a great dragon counter / check, and not just against dragons, but just against any unit that he's faster than. He can just stop them from counterattacking as long as they don't have no counter disrupt or something. So that's awesome. And for stuff like Arena Assault and other modes like that, dragons can be annoying, so Legendary Marth can be that guy that you can just call in to just kill them. So yeah, so for his skills, the best A slot options are going to be attack speed unity, which is something I wish they gave him in his remix when he got it a couple years ago, because it's like, why would you not give them as his remix skill? A little bit kind of annoyed by that. I guess they had a reason for why they didn't give him attack speed unity, but either way, if you don't have that on him already, attack speed unity is going to be an awesome option to help him stack with the spectrum unity that he already has. But if you don't have that, or if you can't get attack speed unity, well, honestly, attack speed unity is not even the best A slot, because attack speed unity is a skill that you can get from other units, and it's a pretty common skill that a lot of units have. Maybe not common, but it's on a lot of units. It's been out for a while. So the best option, in my opinion, the most premium option, is going to be Distant Bonus Doubler or Bonus Doubler 4. So Distant Bonus Doubler is a little bit better, in my opinion, because it does provide you distant counter, obviously, and that's a better trade-off, compared to just the +4 that you get from Bonus Doubler 4. But if you prefer Bonus Doubler 4 for whatever reason, maybe you just you're gonna pair him with a far save tank or something, you can also just use Bonus Doubler 4. They're pretty much the same skills. I mean, maybe not the same. Distant counter is still valuable, but they're pretty similar skills, obviously. But I would prefer getting Distant Bonus Doubler as I have on mine, and that's going to stack, of course, with Bonus Doubler 3. So those are pretty much the best A slots. There's nothing really else that you can use. I guess attack speed, Clash is bad. Clash, don't use Clash. I mean, Clash is not very good on infantries anyway, but that's going to literally clash with his weapon. But the next best option is going to be probably attack speed ideal, which wouldn't be the most ideal because it's not the best A slot for Marth, and it's kind of outclassed now. But yeah, attack speed unity, Bonus Doubler 4, or Distant Bonus Doubler are going to be the best A slots for Marth. For B, Biting Shield, Obviously, you want to replace that because he already has it, even though it's a great skill to have sometimes for certain builds. But yeah, Legu's Friend 4 is going to be the most premium skill to have to make use of his stats and, you know, his speed and defense, and to pierce through damage reduction and get flat DR. That's going to be amazing. So if you can't get Legu's Friend 4, if you get unlucky, then Spurn 4 or Potent 4 are probably going to be the next best options. You could also get Attack Speed Bulwark, which just released on the Hollow Forms, but I don't think he uses it that well. Or even Attack Speed Link, I guess, but I wouldn't really get those. I wouldn't really recommend it. But yeah, Legu's Friend 4 is going to be the endgame build for Legendary Marth. And then for his C slot. So C slot, I think Attack Speed Pledge or Pulse of Blades or Defense Res Pledge, which I don't even know if Defense Res Pledge is on this Hollow Forms, but I have it because I got it from his wife, Atune Sita. But Attack Speed Pledge is definitely going to be a great option because it gives him special charges, which is something he could really utilize because he doesn't have -1 cooldown in his weapon. And even if you're not using Shining Emblem, it's going to be helpful for Godlike Reflexes build, which is going to be the optimal skill for Legu's Friend 4 builds. So the Pledge is really awesome just to help him trigger specials easier. Pulse of Blades works as well. Other options are going to be Infantry Pulse 4, which can help him support his teammates and also lower his cooldown. Speed Smoke 4 is going to be good for just general tanking and giving him damage reduction because he doesn't have any kind of innate damage reduction in his kit. So that's something I also have on mine. And then Panic Smoke 4 is also a great option. And Panic Smoke 4 is a good skill just in general for tanks or just initiators, I guess. But I think Panic Smoke 4 has gotten better over time thanks to Breath of Life 4 being added into the game recently, because Breath of Life 4 is a crazy good skill. And I talked about it when it was revealed, but I was happy that Breath of Life 4 was added because we needed to counter to all the, you know, start of combat damage cheese with, you know, Flared Sparrow, Occultist Strike, all that stuff, Valentine Leon. So there was a counter that was needed, but I feel like they made Breath of Life 4 a little bit too good because it also has Fatal Smoke, which I feel like they didn't need to add that. But the reason I'm saying it in conjunction with Panic Smoke 4 is because Panic Smoke 4 can really help you cripple those Breath of Life 4 cheese tanks and help you get past all the healing, because you can just cripple them as long as they don't have counterplay to it. So Panic Smoke 4 has gotten better. It's always been a good skill, but I think it's gotten better thanks to Breath of Life 4 tanks and that going rampant now. So yeah, those are the best C slot options for Legendary Marth. And for his special, I mentioned it before, Godlike Reflexes. If you can't get that, Vital Astra is going to be the next best choice, but Vital Astra is not as good as Godlike Reflexes anymore. I feel like before, you know, when they first revealed, they were kind of on the similar level, but because of all the DR piercing, Godlike Reflexes is going to be better overall. But, you know, even just his default Shining Emblem is still great, of course, with his weapon. So yeah, those are the skills that you want to get for Legendary Marth. Definitely something to consider. I'm considering getting his Forma, but at the same time, I don't want to get the Forma, and I know this is kind of weird, I mentioned it before, but I really don't want to get the Forma just because I like the natural, quote-unquote, the gold stars that I have on mine. And I don't want to put the blue ones, even though it would be nice for his blue hair and his blue color, obviously. But I don't know. I want to get Legu's Friend 4 on mine, but I might just, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But those are the options for Legendary Marth for sure, and those are the skills you want to aim for. Alright, next up is Marth's lovely wife, Legendary Sita. So unlike her husband, who's been top tier at certain parts of Faye's lifespan in the metagame, Legendary Sita has never really been that top tier of a Lance Flyer. Not super duper top tier. She's always been pretty solid, but nothing crazy. Even when she released, she was not the most insane Lance Flyer, but she can be a nice counter / check to a lot of Cavaliers and armor units. With her, you know, Faithful Loyalty and her weapon, Wings Lifted Spear, or aka her Wing Spear, basically. So yeah, it's a bit harder for her to do her thing, you know, being anti-cav / armor, because there's so much damage reduction and just tons of bulky units. But when they don't have that, or you can hit hard enough, she can be a good anti-cav / armor unit, and that's the unit she's gonna be fighting the most. And you know, I really didn't expect her to be on the solid forms, you know, because I think I might have mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but you know, she released in 2022, and that's not that long ago. So the fact that she's here is pretty crazy. But yeah, her skill options are pretty varying. Even though she is an enemy phase kind of, you know, flyer, she can use player phase builds if you really want to go that way and do some cool stuff. So for A, you definitely want to get either attack speed Unity, which I already have on mine, or you can use distant attack speed solo. She already comes with Distant Storm, which is pretty good, but Distant Attack Speed solo is going to give you a little bit more stats. Flared Sparrow is good for player phase builds. Attack Speed Unity just in, you know, mixed phase. You can also go Firestorm Boost, because that's going to give you HP, that's going to give you attack and speed and guard, and that's also something you can use on Legendary Marth as well, I guess. I didn't mention that, but I guess you can use Firestorm Boost on him. And you can also use Attack Speed Prime. So Attack Speed Prime, I was never too high on attack speed prime skills because you have to use so many status effects, and now there's just so much counterplay to status effects in FEH, you know, with stuff like Nurgle and you know, just units that can steal your statuses. But you can also use that as well, attack speed prime 3 or 4. So I just don't think they're as consistent as just using, you know, DC in the seal, or just using another like distant attack speed solo or something like that. But yeah, those are the options for A slot. And then for B, Assassin Strike, Full Refresh 4, or Aerial Maneuvers for player phase builds. And Aerial Maneuvers is great for obviously the maneuvering and the teleportation, the warping, so that's amazing. And just having the dive bomb effect is going to help you finish off those foes quickly. If you don't want to use player phase builds and skills, you can use Guard Bearing. That's going to be the next best option to help her survive, because, you know, sometimes she won't be able to kill them, and Guard Bearing 4 is going to be that extra insurance. You can use Gambit, but I would not use Gambit. Really, I wouldn't really go for Gambit, because Gambit is requiring a high cooldown special, and her best special is going to be No Quarter. So No Quarter and Gambit really don't work together, and ever since the release of No Quarter, Gambit's been a little bit less used, I guess. It's kind of gotten worse a little bit, so I'd say Guard Bearing 4 is the option. But if you can't get Guard Bearing, then Gambit's the next best thing. And this is another option which I also wouldn't really recommend. I would only recommend this if you're getting if you're using Arcane Lewin on her, which is a build that I have on mine as a Sita. You know, Sita's one of my favorite characters, but not everyone's going to be giving her Arcane Lewin. So, but only if you have Arcane Lewin, I would get Speed Defense near Trace 4 if you do want the Canto. So, because, you know, her weapon, or not that weapon, her Wing Spear already has Canto built into it, and the flat Canto too, which is amazing. So if you're not using this weapon for whatever reason, which I can understand, because it's a good weapon, but it's not super duper amazing. You know, if you are using Arcane Lewin with a build like this, you know, SD near Trace 4 is an option. So yeah, and then the C slots, as any flyer would want, Guidance 4, Soaring Guidance to support her teammates, Attack Speed Oath, which is what I have on mine. That's great to help her with the teleportation, and with Canto 2, it's amazing. So you can have more movement. Canto 2, I mean, if you already have aerial maneuvers, you don't really need Attack Speed Oath, but that's an option, of course. Speed Smoke 4 for damage reduction, and then Deadly Miasma for player phase builds. But just keep in mind that if you are using Flared Sparrow, I wouldn't get Deadly Miasma, because that's not really going to work together, because terrain statuses don't stack. You know, you can't use the Deadly Miasma terrain with Flared Sparrow, so those clash a little bit, so just keep that in mind. If you don't want to use Deadly Miasma for the full player phase, you can also use Speed Defense Rain Snap. That's a great skill, because it also gives the movement for her and her teammates, and with her Canto, just like with the Oath, anytime you have more movement and you have flat Canto, it's amazing. So you know, the flat Canto with the extra movement from the Rain Snap is amazing. So those are the options for Legendary Sita, and I think she's a fairly customizable unit. You can make her full player phase, enemy phase, mixed phase, and she's got some skills. So good luck getting those premium skills for the Queen. Okay, so next up are the Marias, starting with Spring Maria. And I also find it funny that the two Marias on this Hall of Forms are the two Marias on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. You have normal Maria, who's cheerful and trying to enjoy the festival, and then you have Fallen Maria. But yeah, so Spring Maria, she is an infamous tank and flyer in Fire Emblem Heroes. I'm sure you guys have seen the meme where Legendary Marth does 0 damage to her, even though he has plus 99 attack and speed. You know, she's able to be a beastly tank like that thanks to the flat damage reduction in her weapon. So she was one of the first units to have flat damage reduction, if I remember correctly. So, you know, it's going to help her age better. And, you know, even though this weapon is a bit outdated in terms of the stats it gives, still having IO'd shield, having flat DR, and also healing is going to be a great combination for a tank. And, you know, this is something you really don't want to replace with like an arcane weapon, unless you're like a huge Maria fan and you want to give her different weapons, of course. But Pastel Poleaxe is a really good weapon, even though she is a bit older. I mean, she's not that old. She released in 2022, I think, so she's just like Legendary Sita in that regard. But yeah, so Spring Maria, I mean, you can tell just with her kit, attack, defense, push, you definitely want to replace that, because push skills are not very good anymore. So yeah, Spring Maria is definitely going to benefit from a lot of the modern skills, and it's really going to make her go to the next level when it comes to being a tank. So the best skill for her in her A slot, in my opinion, is probably going to be Earthwind Boost. That's going to give you HP, speed, and defense, and also the guard effect, which is something that pretty much every tank wants. So that's going to be really good. If you can't get Earthwind Boost, then you might want to get Sturdy Stance or Steady Posture. Those are probably the next best thing, but I'd say the boost skills are better because, you know, they can give it to you in both phases, while stance skills only give it to you in the enemy phase. But still, you know, the stance skills can still function, of course. Attack defense unity, that's going to be great as well to help you against debuffs if you want to do that. And then you can also use distant stance, distant reversal, distant defense res solo if you just want to fully tank, you know, and not just worry about melee threats, and which is definitely an option because she does have the flat DR, of course, and especially if you have her at high investment. So those are the options for A slots. And then for B, it's definitely going to be Wyvern Rift. So Wyvern Rift is a crazy good skill. It's amazing, and you know, you really don't see it that much, unfortunately, because it's a skill that not many flyers can really use. You have to have a lot of speed and defense, but luckily for Maria, she does have a good stat spread where she can use it, because you can see mine's obviously not invested really as mine's attack, but plus speed, 43 base speed, still pretty good with 43 base defense. So she's going to be one of the best users of Wyvern Rift alongside Rosada, who has it. So Wyvern Rift is going to be an awesome skill for her, and it's going to make it really hard for foes to double her and also give her more flat damage reduction. So that's definitely going to be her end game and best B slot. Obviously, like, there's really nothing else to run. I guess if you can't get Wyvern Rift, then Guardbearing 4 is going to be the next best thing, but Wyvern Rift is something you really want to try and get on Spring Maria here. And then for her C, it's the same, pretty much the same options that any kind of flyer would want, you know, what Legendary Sita would want. Soaring Guidance, Guidance 4, you know, that's going to help her with her teammates while she tanks in the front line, or SD Rain Snap. But if you just want to focus on just her combat and maybe just make her like an Omni tank, I guess, you can also just do Attack Defense Hold, which in my opinion is not going to be better than Guidance 4, but I guess if you can't get those for whatever reason, then Attack Defense Hold is the next best thing to just, you know, go all in with the stats and debuffs. And Panic Smoke 4, again, similar reasons why I recommended that on Legendary Marth. So Panic Smoke 4 is also going to be good. If you can't get any of those, then I guess the next best thing is going to be Attack Defense Menace, which is kind of meh, but it's an option. It's not bad. And then you have No Quarter as her best special for obvious reasons to pierce through damage reduction. So Spring Maria, pretty straightforward. There's not really the most amount of options with her skills that you can really use, but still going to be a great unit to build and just have in your barracks because she can be really bulky. And it's, you know, it's really funny that Maria has a top tier alt like this, or a high tier alt like this. And it's not her only one, because the next unit up is going to be her Fallen version. So Fallen Maria, you know, she has fallen off a bit, and she's even more recent than Spring Maria. She's released in 2023, so that's another thing that makes this Hall of Forms kind of surprising, because they didn't release any of the older Archanea seasonals like Halloween Zane or whatever, or Nagi, who's an older armor. But yeah, so Fallen Maria, she has fallen off, no pun intended, you know, because there are tankier units and just more anti-miracle / healing effects like Fatal Smoke, but still, you know, Miracle is Miracle, and healing that she can do is still great to have. And you know, she can be very useful. So if you're omni tanking, she can be useful. And you know, her base kit's pretty good compared to everyone else on the lineup. You know, she isn't, I mean, not isn't, but I shouldn't say she's not, but you know, she doesn't really need as much tweaking with her kit. She already comes with a pretty good kit. She comes with Poetic Justice, which you're going to use most of the time. Attack Speed Unity is great, of course, but of course you can give her better skills. So Attack Speed Finish 4 is going to be an option in the A. Still Water 4 for ploy builds. You can't get Crystalline Water because that's still not on Hall of Forms yet, but still Water 4 is going to be a build for her if you are using ploys, because ploys, you need more res for that. And for a healer, of course, like her, she is supportive, so ploy builds are going to be very viable. And then for B, again, you're going to be using Poetic Justice most of the time, but Wings of Mercy 4 is an option if you just want to help her swoop in, because she can hit pretty hard. Sacrifice Staff does have Null Guard stats, so she can be annoying and just pick things off, I guess. And you can also use Magical No Follow-Up if you just want to go all in with offenses and pierce through damage reduction. Dazzling Discord is also an option. And then for C, you know, this is the slot that's going to be the most supportive. So again, like I said, ploy skills, attack res ploy is going to be really good to help stop, you know, unity effects and bonus doubler and all that. Canto Control for Aether Raids defense or Summer Duels, that's an option. Joint Drive skills to just help your team get more stats. Infantry Pulse 4, I mean, she doesn't have the most HP, but you can obviously make her HP higher with seals and stuff, and also go for Firestorm boost as well in the A. If you want to stack HP for infantry pulse builds, that's an option, but I would rather, in my opinion, I'd rather get something like Ploy, or because her res is better than her HP in terms of using those skills. But yeah, Infantry Pulse 4 is an option, or Infantry No Follow-Up, that's also great support as well. And then her special, Holy Panic's pretty good, but you can also go for Glitter of Light. That's probably the best special to go for her on this Hall of Forms. And then for the assist, so Nudge is not bad. There's a lot of decent, pretty good healing assists like return and whatnot, but the best one to get here is going to be Magic Shield Plus. Magic Shield Plus is easily one of the best healing assists in the game, if not the best one, because it nulls penalties and also grants her another action. So you can be really annoying with Magic Shield Plus, and it's a really good inheritable that young Emerin had, so getting this on Maria would be really good. So those are the options for Fallen Maria, and those are pretty much, I think that's every skill that I really would recommend on all these units, and that's my overview on the Archanea Hall of Forms. So good luck getting the skills. For me personally, I would love to get all 4 of them, but like I mentioned with Legendary Marth, I don't know if I want to get the blue Forma stars. I know it sounds petty, but I just like having the natural gold stars on mine because mine's already plus 10, and he could obviously benefit from Lagoose Friend 4, which is the skill I want the most on him, but I might just try to get that later naturally, quote unquote. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do, because Hall of Forms, if you want all 4 of them, it's going to be hard to get the skills you want, because you have to fight the RNG, and then I just feel like there's not enough torches. I kind of wish they would give us more torches to get more chances for these skills, because sometimes, you can't get them all, especially if you're trying to get all 4, even all 3, not all 3, but 3 of them. It's kind of tough sometimes, so I wish they would give us more torches to try and get the skills, but either way, this is going to be a great chance to get these great Archanea units, because all of them provide value in their own ways. Legendary Marth being a great tank or dragon killer, Sita being a good mixed phase flyer and also an anti-cavalry / armor unit, Spring Maria being a beastly tank, and then you have Fallen Maria, who can provide amazing support with her miracle and healing, and also be pretty strong in her own right. So that is my overview on the Archanea Hall of Forms. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I wish you luck getting the skills or even summoning, because the Hall of Forms banner is also out. So if you're trying to get merges on any of these characters, it's a good chance to. There's also a spark on it, I think, if you have Fate Pass. So that's the thing to keep in mind. But yeah, leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Let's see me ramble, and please stay safe out there. Peace out.